Chapter 31. Asma very consciously took 2 steps forward, rubbed his fists and said, "You brat, did you come here looking for a beating?" Hearing Asma's words, everyone in the classroom laughed. They were in a bad mood, and this bastard took the initiative to come to their door. Seeing the smiles on the faces of the first years getting more and more ferocious, Shunyan quickly stopped. "Wait, I'm not here to fight with you." With that, he turned his gaze to Garashi. "Shimizu Garashi, take care of your followers. Your skill of provocation is not very good," Garashi said with his hands open. "There are no followers here, only my companions." Of course, in the eyes of the person, what kind of world it is. So people like you don't understand the meaning of companions at all. Of course, the people in Garashi's class wouldn't be provoked by a single sentence, but they were still a little unhappy. After listening to Garashi's words, they all arrogantly retorted back. "That's right. What about your previous companions? The way I see it, your companions have all abandoned you." Shunyan was depressed hearing this, but he couldn't refute it. Because when they heard that he wanted to regain the glory of the Uchiha, his companions either said that someone in their family was married and couldn't come, or that the toilet paper in the mall was at a discount, and they had to buy it. Do they really think he's a fool? If they want to make up a reason, at least make up a decent one. Seeing that Shunyan was speechless, Asma's eyes lit up, and he mocked in an extremely annoying tone. "Could it be that we were right? TSK, you're really a failure as a person." Shunyan waved his hand in embarrassment. "Don't talk, I'm not here to look for you today." As he spoke, he widened his eyes and tried his best to pretend to be very imposing as he looked at Shushi. "I'll get back up from where I fell. So, I'll take back the glory that you lost with my own hands." Garashi blinked. Even he couldn't figure out what the other party was thinking for a while. Why else would it be said that mental patients have a wide range of thoughts? Thinking of this, Garashi helplessly spread out his hands. "All right, then how are you going to take back your glory? I want to defeat you in front of everyone," Xiaonian shouted with a fierce gaze. But before he could finish his words, he was glared at by the people behind Garashi. His imposing manner instantly withered like a rotten fish. "I want to have a friendly exchange with you," Asma said disdainfully. "And you say you're not here to pick a fight with us?" The corner of Xiaonian's mouth twitched. Of course, he wasn't here to pick a fight. 1 against 69, who could take it? Garashi smiled and said, "It doesn't seem fair for your 3rd year to fight my 1st year." Xiaonian was in a difficult position. Although Shimizu Garashi did not participate in the battle last time, because he had to heal Mizuki, it was not difficult to infer that Asma's strength was not weak based on the battle at the beginning of the school term, and the strength that he had displayed in the group battle. It would be fine if he fought with all his might, but if his hands and feet were tied, he didn't have much confidence. Then I won't use the 3 bodies technique. That should be fine, right? That's not necessary. Garashi clenched his hands and stood on the table. "As long as I win, you can promise me one condition." Xiaonian asked with some vigilance. "What condition?" "First of all, I won't be your little brother." In his mind, this despicable guy must want to take him as his subordinate. "Of course not." Garashi smiled helplessly and immediately said, "I just hope that if you lose, you can apologize to Mizuki, and also to those classmates who have been bullied by you before." Hearing Garashi's condition, the admiration in the eyes of the surrounding students became more and more intense, and the eyes looking at Xiaonian were full of disdain. Compared to this Uchiha, their class leader was simply too imposing. Xiaonian opened his mouth. He didn't expect that the other party would use this as a condition. Obviously, he didn't have much to do with him, and he was a stranger who he never knew. Why would he do this for those people? You know, this is a great opportunity to recruit him, the genius of the Uchiha clan. Even as an opponent, Xiaonian instinctively felt respect in his heart. "Okay, I promise you." "Well then let's go out now." Garashi didn't reject fighting. He didn't agree to those bad people's one-on-one proposal. In fact, it was more to strengthen the cohesion of the class. As for now, appropriate showing of strength is also a necessary means to strengthen leadership. Of course, this is also based on the premise that he has already understood the strength of the other party from the group fight the day before yesterday. On the other side, Garashi, Kuin won't be in danger, right? Shizen clasped her hands and asked worriedly. It's a little troublesome. That bastard's strength is not weaker than mine. Asma looked dignified. Oh, then I'm relieved. Shizen patted her chest with relief. Asma suddenly turned back. With a face full of question marks, he felt offended. For children who are energetic and eager to be recognized by others, after learning one or two ninjutsu, there are many who run to the school to show off in front of the whole school. But this battle is different. One is a super newcomer who stirred up the storm as soon as he entered the school, and the other is a ferocious bully who makes all the grades pale. So many people are very interested in this battle. Before Garashi and Shizen walked to the field, the guardrail of the teaching building on each floor was full of people. Uchiha Shunyan, that guy, has been beaten silly. He even dares to trouble the first grade. Who knows? Anyway, the Uchiha's mental state is not normal. Yes, that bastard even snatched my lollipop before. The first grade must defeat him. Uchiha Shunyan didn't know the evaluation of the people above him, or even if he knew, he wouldn't care. After finishing the seal of opposition, Shunyan directly grabbed a shuriken from the tool bag at his waist and threw it at Garashi. Shuriken throwing jutsu? If you saw the battle 2 months ago, you should know that it happens to be what I'm best at. Garashi held a kunai and easily bounced off all the shurikens that were thrown at him from all directions. If you don't have any other. Wait, what is this? Garashi said, and was shocked to find that there was another shuriken hidden in the shadow of the last shuriken he blocked. Without much time to think, Garashi hurriedly dodged sideways. Oh, this is the shadow shuriken jutsu that hides the second shuriken in a blind spot. To be able to dodge like this, you are indeed very powerful. It's a pity that any mistake in the battle with the Uchiha will lead to defeat. Shunyan sneered coldly, as if he knew the future. He appeared in the direction Garashi was dodging in advance. After sending Garashi flying, he stepped on him. The so-called strongest newcomer is only at this level? In front of the name of the Uchiha, you are nothing. Garashi couldn't help but cry. I am too weak, Shunyan-sama. Please accept me as your younger brother. Shunyan looked up and laughed wildly. Ha 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 ha. What is that fool laughing about? I don't know, maybe the shock was too big, and he lost his mind. Shunyan was abruptly awakened by the annoying words that drifted into her ears in a daze, coupled with a trace of coolness coming from her neck. Then he saw that Shimizu Garashi, who was supposed to be under his foot, was holding a kunai at his neck. Was that a genjutsu? Shunyan was taken aback at first. Then he immediately woke up and looked at Garashi with grief and indignation. Why? Why do you, a medical ninja, need to use genjutsu? Garashi said with a natural look. As a medical ninja, I learn a few genjutsu to make the patient forget the pain. Isn't it reasonable? Chapter 32. On the other side of the field, Kurenai looked at Asma with a strange look. You said that guy's strength is not weaker than yours, and he was killed by Garashi. So Garashi usually let you win, right? Asma was embarrassed and argued. How would I know that guy would be so stupid? He didn't guard against Garashi's genjutsu at all. Shizen weakly interjected. Garashi, Kuin is a medical ninja. It's normal for him not to guard against genjutsu, isn't it? Asma and Kurenai looked at each other and smiled awkwardly. Haha. Isn't it common sense to be careful of medical ninjas' genjutsu? The people who were waiting to watch a good show in the teaching building were also speechless. Is this guy really not here to be funny? It's really boring, it's over already? They aren't playing us, are they? He's an Uchiha. He was killed by an ordinary person with genjutsu. That's right, even an ordinary person. Wait, you call this an ordinary person? A few of the third-year delinquents mixed in with the crowd had a face of relief and lingering fear. Fortunately, we didn't follow Boss Shunyan's stupid actions. That first-year brat is simply a monster among monsters. Yeah, obviously Boss Shunyan is so strong, but he was killed by a genjutsu. You still call him boss? If you ask me, this idiot will only cause trouble for us. It's better to get rid of him as soon as possible. Well, that makes sense. In the field, Garashi took back his kunai and said with a smile, Shunyan-san, don't forget your promise. Go back to class, you'll be late. Go back to class. Seeing Garashi's indifferent look, as if he didn't care about this battle at all, coupled with the constant ridicule around him, Shunyan's eyes were suddenly covered with a layer of blood mist. You bastard, don't look at me like that. This is a Tomo? Although it's only the right eye, it's still an amazing achievement. Seeing the single Tomo spinning in Shunyan's scarlet eyes, Garashi was truly surprised. Except for some unreasonable geniuses, being able to open the Sharingan at the age of 8, even if it's only one eye, is definitely regarded as a genius. You know, in many people's eyes, Uchiha Sasuke was even more talented than Itachi, but under the stimulation of his whole clan being killed, he only opened one Tomo. Sure enough, the sicker a person is, the better his talent is. Garashi sighed in his heart. Then he chuckled and said, Student Shunyan, is there anything else? Seeing Garashi's relaxed and calm appearance, Shunyan only realized in hindsight that he seemed to have already lost. Even if he had a breakthrough now, the other party had no reason to fight him again. So uncomfortable. Shunyan's face was sullen and depressed. Out of the corner of his eyes, he suddenly caught a glimpse of his younger brothers who said that they were going to the mall to buy toilet paper at a reduced price. But in the end, they were mixed in the crowd to see him make a fool of himself. Shimizu Garashi, I will apologize to your classmate according to the agreement, and the classmates who were bullied by me before. But don't you want to increase the stakes a little? Garashi hesitated for a moment, and as if he had made up his mind, he asked, How do you want to expand the bet? This guy is really easy to fool. He obviously saw that I had awakened the Sharingan, but after being provoked by me, he still couldn't help but take the bait. Shunyan laughed in his heart, and inexplicably felt a sense of superiority in IQ. Let's fight again, as long as you win, Shunyan said, and suddenly gnashed his teeth. No matter if I lose or win this game, I will take my companions and apologize to your classmate, and the people who were bullied by us before. Hearing the conversation between the two, the onlookers who were watching the show really understood why Garashi was fighting. Wow, this first-year student is actually helping us seek justice. It's so touching. He obviously doesn't know us. No matter, I'm going to fail. I'm going to repeat. I'm going to wait to join them. For a moment, almost everyone had a good impression of this freshman little son. As for the several delinquents who were mixed in the crowd to watch the show, they were so angry that they vomited blood. This idiot boss actually sold them out like this. Garashi thought for a moment, and then nodded seriously. Since it's for everyone, then I have to skip this class. Shunyan almost went berserk. He thought that the other side was worried about losing too badly. But it turned out that the other side was entangled, because of such a trivial matter. Thinking of this, he almost roared in front of Garashi. I have awakened the Sharingan now, can't you respect me? But when he thought of his cold, strong persona, he suppressed his anger and said, You have to be ready, I'm going. With that, he put his right hand into the tool bag at his waist. But for some reason, at this moment, he inexplicably remembered the scene he saw in the previous Genjutsu, and then the right hand in the tool bag subconsciously touched the shuriken. Shuriken shadow technique. Facing the shuriken shooting at him like a rain of flowers, Garashi calmly threw all the shurikens he had prepared in his hand, and then, with incomparable accuracy, he shot down the shurikens shot by Shunyan one by one. He actually shot down my shurikens with only shurikens. This kind of extremely accurate control. Even with the Sharingan, I can't do it. Shunyan couldn't help but widen his eyes, of course. He knew the difficulty of this method. But I hid in the corner. Ding. The last shuriken also fell to the ground. Seeing this situation, Shunyan's eyes were blank. Hee, a dream is just a dream. At this time, he suddenly heard the sound of something breaking through the air. Oh no, I forgot his chakra line. Shunyan instinctively dodged to the left, and then, taking advantage of the gap between the shurikens turning in the air, he hurriedly took out a kunai from the tool bag to block. Wait, this speed. Shunyan's right Magatama rotated rapidly, and with a wave of his arm, he easily bounced off all of Garashi's attacks. Too slow. No, it was slowed down by my Sharingan. Shunyan was ecstatic. It turned out that this is the real reason why the Uchiha can be famous in the ninja world. The people who were shocked by Garashi's extremely accurate shurikens were once again refreshed by Xiaonian. Amazing, is this the power of the Sharingan? Obviously, he was killed by Shimizu Garashi's Genjutsu before, but after awakening the Sharingan, he can actually suppress the opponent. This is simply cheating. No way, this is the foundation of the Uchiha. Chapter 33. Under Garashi's increasingly violent offensive, Shunian was still walking leisurely, just casually waving his kunai, and easily deflecting the shurikens coming from all directions. Then step by step, he approached the opponent. In front of this eye, all your efforts are useless. This is the real glory of the Uchiha clan. It is a gap that ordinary people like you can never catch up with. As a medical ninja, how are you going to deal with my close attack? In Shunyan's view, although his taijutsu is not very good, dealing with a medical ninja shouldn't be too much of a problem. After all, he also saw Garashi's battle 2 months ago, and his taijutsu is still a lot worse than his. The only thing worth paying attention to is the slightly troublesome medical ninjutsu. However, Garashi sighed helplessly. Shunyan-san, has anyone ever told you that you are really long-winded? Then, in front of Shunyan's incredulous eyes, Garashi quickly approached and heavily landed a knee on Shunyan's lower abdomen, directly sending him flying. Enduring the pain of vomiting bile, Shunyan struggled to get up and shouted again with grief and indignation. Why? Why do you know taijutsu as a medical ninja? Garashi pondered for a moment. As a medical ninja, it's reasonable for me to learn some taijutsu to protect myself, right? Of course, he won't give up the practice of taijutsu. After all, he has been coveting Tsunade's monstrous strength for a long time. As for his bad taijutsu before, it's entirely because he didn't have a teacher to guide him. He didn't dare to practice it casually. After becoming close friends with Asuma, he naturally benefited from Asuma Sensei's guidance. Although Takeuchi Daikawa is only a Tokubetsu Jonin, he is indeed very capable in systematic teaching. At least he barely made up for the shortcomings in taijutsu. Shunyan shouted aggrievedly. But your taijutsu 2 months ago was obviously not as good as mine. Shushi nodded and said matter-of-factly. Yes, but that was 2 months ago. Uzumaki Naruto can fight 6 dojutsu in a year. Shimizu Garashi, can improve my taijutsu a little bit every 2 months. Xiaonian's head was filled with question marks. Although the information had a time limit, it was still outdated after 2 months. This information had lost its effectiveness too quickly. If he's progressing at this rate, could it be that, when I fight him again in 2 days, it'll become an instant kill? Xiaonian shuddered as she thought of this possibility. In other words, this is my only chance to defeat him? There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just taijutsu. At least his genjutsu won't work on me since I have Sharingan, right? Xiaonian didn't dare to think about it anymore. He was afraid that if he continued to think about it, he wouldn't even have the courage to fight. Doppelganger technique. Xiaonian quickly formed a hand seal, and 5 of his doppelgangers surrounded Shushi. However, Garashi did not hesitate at all as he charged towards one of them, completely ignoring the attacks of the other Xiaonian. Sure enough, this guy's perception is too strong. Xiaonian cursed in his heart, and didn't dare to pretend anymore. While holding a kunai in his right hand and stabbing Garashi, his left hand secretly touched a ball of steel wire. Garashi slightly sideways to avoid the attack, and hit Xiaonian's chest with his elbow. Now, Xiaonian didn't try to dodge. Instead, he endured the pain in his chest, and used the steel wire in his left hand to wrap around Shushi. Then Katon Phoenix Sage Fire technique. The flame quickly spread on the steel wire, until Garashi was completely engulfed. This level of attack is far from enough. Xiaonian, who saw the battle 2 months ago, naturally understood that the opponent's use of the Trijutsu was also very powerful. Just as Xiaonian was looking for a flaw, and was preparing for the next round of attack, the hot flame dispersed, and a charred body fell heavily to the ground. Xiaonian only felt that his IQ was seriously insulted. He didn't believe that the opponent could be killed by this level of attack. Wait, is it his genjutsu again? Xiaonian was alert, and then suddenly the noisy voice sounded in his ears. I lost just like that. How boring. This is the Uchiha clan? It's really funny. No one really thinks that the Sharingan is strong, right? Hearing this, Xiaonian was irritated. Damn it, I'm under Jinjutsu again, wake up for me. But at this time, the charred body on the ground suddenly rushed towards him. Then, before Xiaonian could react, a familiar cold feeling came from his neck. Xiaonian asked in a daze, "Wait, is this still a Jinjutsu?" Garashi chuckled and took back his kunai. "My body is not, but the voice you heard is." It turned out that this time it was a sonic Jinjutsu. Xiaonian subconsciously opened his mouth and didn't know what to say, as if his spirit was drained, and he knelt on the ground. "I lost. I have the Sharingan, but I lost to an ordinary person. The glory of the Uchiha clan has been completely lost in my hands." He didn't even dare to raise his head. He didn't dare to look at the people around him. He only felt that there were countless eyes full of ridicule and malice behind him. Shushi was just about to walk out when he heard Tang Wulin's words. He stopped in his tracks. "Glory won't disappear just because you lost a battle. If you really want to talk about it, the glory you speak of was lost the first time you bullied the weak." Xiaonian suddenly raised his head, looked at Garashi and shouted hysterically, "What do you know? It's all because of my efforts that no one in the school dares to say bad things about the Uchiha clan." Garashi looked at him with calm and pure eyes. "Do you really think so?" For some reason, Xiaonian didn't dare to look directly at Kuroto's eyes for a while, and asked with a lack of confidence, Is there a problem?" The corners of Shushi's mouth curled up slightly. "This guy is so young and innocent that he's kind of cute. It's easy to fool him. If you really think so, you won't be confused by my Jinjutsu. It's because you know that they don't recognize you at all, and even your so-called companions are saying bad things about the Uchiha clan behind their backs. So you are afraid that this lie will be exposed. No, it's not like that. They are all afraid of me. They are all in awe of the name of the Uchiha clan. This is just a lie that you weave yourself, a dream that you use to deceive yourself. Do you mean that the Uchiha clan needs to rely on lies to numb their own clan?" Hearing this, even Xiaonian himself was confused. Have I really been deceiving myself all this time? Seeing that Xiaonian's worldview has been turned upside down, Garashi felt that it's time to stop. At least, I definitely don't think that eliminating arrogance and prejudice can be achieved by violence. Xiaonian asked subconsciously, "Then what should I do? Do you love your family?" Although a little ashamed, Xiaonian, who is now in a brainwashed state, nodded. "Yes." "Then does your family love you?" "Yes," Garashi said seriously. "Kindness is always mutual. If you don't even love the world, then why do you ask the world to love you? If it's still not enough, then add time. Time will prove everything." After being poured this bowl of chicken soup for the soul, Xiaonian felt that his whole body was healed and sublimated. Seeing Garashi turn around and leave, Xiaonian looked at his back and shouted, "I know, I will try my best to change all of this." Garashi didn't stop this time, he just waved his hand. "Before that, go and ask them for forgiveness for what you have done before." Chapter 34. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, a year has passed. Combat class. Wind release, great breakthrough. 100 mountain rush. My naming skills are really bad. I originally wanted to learn from Sakura's Sakura Rush to name individual techniques. Here, I want to collect names with Naruto's flavor. The strong hurricane that came out of Asuma's mouth was blown apart by Garashi's punch, and the airflow scattered in all directions. In the midst of the dust, Garashi suddenly jumped out, raised his arm high and fiercely hammered down. Boom! The ground suddenly cracked open, forming a crater with a diameter of 5 meters. Looking at the broken pieces of his substitute in the crater, Asuma's back was covered in cold sweat. Why do I feel that Garashi is becoming more and more violent? Seeing Garashi rushing towards him again, Asuma didn't dare to be negligent. While throwing out shurikens to disrupt Garashi's attack, he quickly formed hand seals. Fire release, dragon fire technique. Seeing a dragon spitting fire blocking his way, Garashi's expression didn't change as he waved his fist to meet it. Of course, the average taijutsu ninja wouldn't dare to play like this. But for him, it's just a matter of condensing yang release. Chakra to heal his wounds in advance, there's no need to dodge. The ferocious fire dragon was directly blown apart, turning into sparks that splashed everywhere. Even Asma was a little dumbfounded. Garashi wasn't this reckless last time. But he didn't have time to think too much. He could only reluctantly form a few hand seals. Wind release, vacuum, pain heaven kick. In the middle of the attack, Garashi fiercely stepped on the ground. The earth shook violently, and Asma's body slightly tilted to one side. Damn, I formed the wrong hand seal. Asma's eyes widened. The small air mass that should have been spat out from his mouth could only be ejected from another channel. Puff! Hearing this mellow and long sound, Asma's face turned red. Just as he was distracted, a gust of wind blew in his face. Asma looked up and saw that Garashi's fist had stopped right in front of him. On the other side, the 8 gods had already made their judgment. Shimizu Garashi wins. Both parties form the seal of reconciliation. Garashi-kun is really too powerful. Even such a ferocious fire dragon was torn apart by him. Speaking of which, Asma is really tenacious. Yeah. I also thought he would have given up on challenging the class leader a long time ago. Although he hasn't won even once, but I'm sorry. When I think about how his winning percentage is ranked last in the class, I feel that he's too pitiful. Amidst the whispers of the surrounding students, Garashi patted Asma on the shoulder. How are you? Are you alright? Fine. Don't worry, he's already used to losing. Ibishi, who was getting more and more sharp-tongued, suddenly said from the side. Asma widened his eyes. You bastard, stop looking down on me. I've improved a lot now. In another 2, 3, 4 years. That's right, in another 4 years, I will definitely be able to defeat Garashi. As he said that, Asma suddenly caught a glimpse of Shizian writing something in a small notebook. Shizian, what are you doing? Oh, I'll remember what you said. If you still lose after 4 years. Asma put on an aggrieved look and said gloomily, Shizian, even you've learned bad things. At this moment, the 8 gods opened his hands and said, Students, quiet down. I'm very happy that everyone has been promoted to the 2nd grade. From today onwards, you can be considered as seniors in the school. Hearing this, everyone's face showed an eager and excited expression. They couldn't wait to show off their seniors in front of the freshmen. But don't think that you can relax. If you don't work hard, you might be surpassed by the freshmen one day. Many people secretly curled their lips. They had already figured out Teacher Yagami's routine. It was his first time as a teacher, but he liked to imitate other teachers and say that they were the worst batch of students he had ever taught. Wasn't that right? He had only taught one batch, so of course it could be said that they were the worst batch. Seeing that the crowd didn't seem to believe it, the 8 gods straightened his face and said, Don't think that I'm joking. In this batch of freshmen, there are geniuses who are not inferior to Garashi. No way, there are geniuses who are on the same level as the class monitor? Oh, the freshmen are indeed monsters, Asma muttered. Teacher Yagami is too much. He categorized me as them just like that. Ibishi couldn't help but say, Don't worry, maybe Teacher Yagami didn't even include you. Seeing this, the 8 gods nodded with satisfaction. Now, do you know the pressure of the previous batch of seniors? Hearing this, everyone smiled awkwardly. Indeed, the previous batch of seniors was really miserable. Not only were they bullied by the seniors of the previous batch, but they also had to bear the pressure from the freshmen. After explaining the matters to pay attention to at the beginning of the school, the 8 gods turned his attention to Garashi. Shushi, with your current strength, you should be able to apply for early graduation. What do you think about this? Everyone, who had been laughing and joking, suddenly fell silent. They looked at Shushi anxiously. What's wrong? Are we going to separate? Seeing that Garashi was silent, the 8 gods said, Except for the time of war, the record of the school's earliest graduation is 7 years old. If you apply for graduation now, you can break the previous record. In the ninja world where geniuses are prevalent, creating various records is a very boastful thing. Therefore, the eyes of the students also dimmed. They are reluctant to part with Garashi, but they also don't want Garashi to give up his own honor. However, for Garashi, he doesn't want to graduate early. He is now living well. How can he give up his plan because of such a boring thing? Moreover, Woodleaf is not a place for charity. Once he graduates, he will have to perform tasks in the team. After all, a large part of the expenses of maintaining Woodleaf's operation comes from the commission of completing tasks. Except for some special circumstances, ninjas must complete the assigned task quota every month before they can rest. For Garashi, who is in the stage of rapid improvement, naturally, he doesn't want to waste precious time on such boring tasks. Of course, it's not good to stay in school, so his statement naturally becomes, "The more knowledge I learn, the more I understand my own insignificance and ignorance. For such a shallow person like me, graduating early is not a suitable choice," Garashi said, glancing at the crowd with gentle eyes. "More importantly, I promise to advance and retreat together with everyone." The playground was silent for a moment, and then suddenly burst into cheers like a tide. "Great! I knew the class leader wouldn't abandon us. Oh, it's all our fault for dragging Garashi down. From today on, I will double the training intensity." On the side, the 8 gods smiled subtly. "Oh, do you think that teacher won't use new tricks?" Chapter 35. Woodleaf Soil School. That, haha. Thank you so much for yesterday, Rin. A little boy wearing goggles was bewildered as he thanked the little girl beside him. Hee, that's what I should do. With her hands behind her back, Rin's face was filled with a youthful and lively smile. "But Bordered Soil, next time you have to come earlier. Don't be like yesterday where you couldn't even make it for the registration." Bordered Soil nodded like a chick pecking at rice, and then racked his brain to think of a topic. "That Rin, I arrived late yesterday. Can you tell me about the other students?" Of course. Rin approached Bordered Soil and whispered to him, "This is Suzuki-san, that's Iwai-san." However, Rin obviously didn't notice that a certain pervert wasn't listening to her at all, and just stared at her side profile with a rippling face. Rin's blushing face is so beautiful. Bordered Soil thought so infatuatedly, and then as if struck by lightning. Wait, Rin blushed when she saw another boy. Bordered Soil hurriedly returned to his senses. "Rin, you spoke too fast. I didn't hear you clearly. Who was the last student?" "It was Kakashi." Looking in a certain direction, Rin shyly lowered her head. Sure enough, Rin blushed when she saw that white-haired brat. Bordered Soil instantly pulled a long face, and said sourly, "Other than being a little more handsome than me, he doesn't seem to be anything special." "That's not it." Rin gently shook her finger. "Yesterday when we were registering, a teacher said that Kakashi's talent is no less than that of Garashi-senpai." "Garashi-senpai? I seem to have heard that before," Bordered Soil whispered, and just as he was about to ask more, there was a sudden commotion from the other side. "You brat, how dare you bump into me? Are you looking down on us seniors?" "I'm not." Then you're saying that I deliberately bumped into you." "That's not what I meant." "Then you deliberately bumped into me. Hurry up and pay up, otherwise, don't blame me for teaching you the dignity of a senior." Bordered Soil looked towards the source of the voice, and saw a few people dressed like delinquents surrounding a student with a watermelon hairstyle, scolding him. Lin exclaimed softly, "It's Metkei." "Oh no, those people are the tyrants of the 4th grade. They love to bully the newcomers." "What? Watermelon Head is in danger?" When Bordered Soil heard that his classmate had been surrounded, he immediately rushed over with his blood boiling. "Bordered Soil, wait!" Lin hurriedly shouted and followed after him. "There's actually a newcomer standing up for someone else. Could it be that it's another monster like that Shimizu Garashi?" Thinking back to last year's tragic experience, the delinquents' expressions all turned ugly. "On the first day, there's a classmate who I don't know who helped me. Dad was right, this is hot-blooded youth." Metkei shouted with tears flowing down his face, giving a thumbs up to Bordered Soil. Bordered Soil's body shuddered. Why does he feel that something is wrong with this Watermelon Head? Seeing the other's fiery eyes, Bordered Soil hurriedly turned his gaze to the delinquents. "You guys, don't bully him." On the other side, several delinquents were whispering to each other. "I heard that there's a monster newcomer named Hataki Kakashi among this year's freshmen. Could it be him?" "Really? But why do I feel that this kid is stupid?" "You can't say that. Isn't that idiot Uchiha Shinin very strong? It makes sense, let's test him first. After the discussion, one of the delinquents stood up and said, Hataki Kakashi, don't. Interrupting you guys, I'm Kakashi. The white-haired boy who was calmly watching the show suddenly said, Wait, then he is. You bastards, remember this uncle's name is Bordered Soil Uchiha. Bordered Soil felt seriously insulted and shouted loudly, Uchiha? Bordered Soil Uchiha. The delinquents looked at each other, then turned around with a grin. Well, I'll let you see the power of an Uchiha. Bordered Soil Uchiha secretly glanced at Rin, roared and rushed up, then typed GG. In just one round, Bordered Soil Uchiha was trampled under his feet. What a weak strength, such a weak strength came to save me, it's really touching. On the side Mekkei cried loudly. Bordered Soil Uchiha was almost angered to death by him. Bastard, I just accidentally fell down. Everyone was speechless, the corners of their mouths twitched. How can you fall directly under someone's feet? Don't be afraid, I'll save you. After one round, Mekkei and Bordered Soil Uchiha were trampled side by side under his feet. I thought this year's freshmen were very powerful. This is it? If you don't have the strength, don't learn from others. The surrounding freshmen were angry, but they didn't dare to refute. Many people secretly looked at Kakashi, expecting the strongest newcomer in the teacher's mouth to stand up for them. Unfortunately, the other party didn't even have the interest to move his feet. At this moment, a slightly deep voice came from the distance. Kento Ryota, you're bullying your classmates again. Hearing this voice, the group of delinquents gnashed their teeth and shouted, Uchiha Shunien, why do you always pester us? Because I want to be a good person now. Damn, we'll fight you. The group of delinquents rushed up. The group of delinquents typed GG. Strong strength. Kakashi, who had been indifferent before, had a flash of surprise in his eyes. Bordered Soil shouted cheerfully, That's cousin Shunien, he's very powerful, right? Mekkei nodded seriously, then asked doubtfully, Are you all from the Uchiha clan? Why are you so weak? Bordered Soil felt as if his lungs were about to explode. He glared at Mekkei for a long time before saying, I'm still young. Can't I? After doing good deeds every day, Shunien suddenly looked at Garashi's position. I heard that among the freshmen, there is someone with the same talent as Garashi, but now it seems that you are much worse than him. Kakashi frowned. How would you know if we haven't fought? Shunien shook his head and said sincerely, No, the result has already been decided. Because your tolerance is not as good as his. At some point, the Bordered Soil came over and asked in confusion, Tolerance? Shunien boasted seriously, If it's Garashi, he will definitely stand up. He only sees himself, but Garashi sees the world. Although Kakashi was a little unhappy in his heart, he was too lazy to refute. Obito, on the other hand, was beaming with joy. Haha, then my tolerance is also greater than his. Shunien hesitated for a moment. No, you just don't think about it. Seeing Bordered Soil's face full of resentment, Lin took the initiative to come to his rescue. Shunien-senpai, thank you for helping us. Shunien's eyes were calm. Don't worry. Doing good deeds before challenging him can also strengthen my own beliefs. After seeing Shunien's strength and suddenly hearing this news, Mekkei excitedly ran over and asked, Shunien-senpai, who are you going to challenge? Shunien took a deep breath. It's the one who guided me out of my mistakes, Shimizu Garashi. Chapter 36. Wow, it's Garashi-senpai. On the side, Rin's eyes sparkled like little stars as she cheered. Seeing Rin's reaction was more serious than when she saw Kakashi, Bordered Soil instantly realized the crisis. Danger? Mike Guy asked excitedly. Is it a senior from the upper grade? Rin shook her head. No, Garashi, senpai is a second-year senior. Bordered Soil curled his lips. What, so he's only 1 year older than us? You're not a medical ninja. Of course you don't understand Garashi-senpai's power. Rin clasped her hands in front of her chest and said with admiration. Senpai is Tsunade-sama's disciple, and it only took him a year to be able to perform some small operations in the hospital. Bordered Soil scratched his head. Is he very powerful? Why do I feel like he can do it too? Mekkei looked at Shunien in confusion. Senpai, the person you want to challenge is a medical ninja? Even if Shunyan had already accepted it, when he was suddenly asked this question, his body trembled, and immediately there was a trace of grief in his eyes. Medical ninjas are the most annoying. Everyone around looked strange. Why do they feel that Shunyan Senpai's voice is a little bit sobbing? This must be an illusion. Mekkei was surprised. It's only a year. And that Senpai already has the same level of strength as Shunyan Senpai? Shunyan calmed down his restless heart, and once again returned to his calm state. To be precise, it's 2 months. He only used 2 months to surpass my 3 years of effort. Bordered Soil shouted in disbelief. How is it possible, cousin Shunyan? You're a genius who could awaken your Sharingan at the age of 8. My Sharingan was awakened in the battle with him. Shunyan's face was full of sadness, and his eyes were filled with reminiscence. It can even be said that if I didn't awaken my Sharingan, I wouldn't even have the ability to resist. Hearing his words, Bordered Soil and the others couldn't help but widen their eyes. Senior Shunyan was so strong, but he wasn't a match for Senior Garashi? This was especially true for Bordered Soil. He had often heard the adults in the clan talking about how powerful cousin Shunyan was, but he didn't expect his dreams to be shattered on the first day. Even Kakashi, who pretended to be indifferent, but was actually listening to the gossip, was surprised. He heard from his father that the Uchiha were extremely proud. To be able to make the proud Uchiha say such words. Is it Shimizu Garashi? I'm starting to get interested in this boring school life. Mekkei, who yearned for youth and hot-bloodedness, looked at Shunyan with shining eyes. Senior, can we also watch the battle? Of course, no problem. Shunyan shuddered under this fervent gaze and quickly averted his gaze. Also, you can also attend the school festival on the way. Lin asked curiously, school festival? What's that? Shunyan organized his words. It's a place where people of all grades form clubs according to their hobbies, and then invite classmates or people from the village to participate. In short, it's a place for you to meet friends and show yourself. Wow, it sounds so interesting. Lin clapped her hands happily, but soon she had a new doubt. But why haven't I heard of it before? Because this was proposed by Garashi before the last semester's holiday, Shunyan said, patting Bordered Soil's shoulder. You're lucky. You're just in time for the first school festival. Mekkai's eyes lit up as he listened. Great. I'm going to form the Youth and Hot-Bloodedness Club. Is there anyone who wants to join? However, as long as he looked at them, everyone around him quickly turned their heads away, as if avoiding a snake or a scorpion. Seeing Mekkai's unwilling look, Bordered Soil quickly changed the topic. Will there really be people participating in this school festival? After all, that Garashi Sr. was just a newcomer last year. Shunyan, who had already become Garashi's boaster, said in the most determined tone. If it's him, there definitely won't be a problem. Without waiting for them to ask, Shunyan took the initiative to explain. This is because everyone in our grade is very convinced by him. Speaking of which, for Garashi to have such a reputation, it's partly because of me. I know. It must be because cousin Shunyan used to be the most powerful person in school. Bordered Soil made the connection, his face full of indignation. After that Shimizu Garashi defeated you, he took your position. If he's powerful, that might be true. Shunyan had a strange look in his eyes. But if we're talking about status, does being the most hated person in school count? Huh. Bordered Soil tilted his head and maliciously acted cute. What do you mean? Of course it's because I used to be a bully among bullies. Shunyan didn't feel embarrassed at all, and frankly said with a smile. Those bastards who embarrassed you just now were actually my little brothers. Everyone around exclaimed in unison. What? Bordered Soil also stuttered. What the hell is going on? It seems that the clan didn't mention how much of a bastard I used to be. That's right, they only care about the awakening of the Sharingan. Shunyan laughed self-deprecatingly, then put his hands on Bordered Soil's shoulders, and sternly said, I used to be too extreme, and didn't understand the true meaning of love. I thought that relying on violence to make everyone respect Uchiha was love for my father. So I didn't need to do anything to get the love of my classmates. It was Garashi who woke me up, and made me come out of the illusion. So cheesy. Cousin Shunyan, aren't you embarrassed at all? Bordered Soil felt goosebumps all over his body. And just as he was thinking about how to escape the claws of Shunyan, the corner of his eye suddenly floated to the side of Rin. Wait. If I can be as thick-skinned as Cousin Shunyan, can I say in front of Rin that I love? Hee. Thinking of this, Bordered Soil's eyes became very firm. Cousin Shunyan, I understand. Shunyan nodded with relief, but also a little sad. Sometimes when a mistake has been made, even if you do more, there is no way to undo it. So don't be a bastard like me in the future. Bordered Soil nodded as if he didn't understand, but Mekhe patted him on the shoulder. It's okay, Sunyan-san. Bordered Soil is so weak, he can't be a bad guy. Bordered Soil staggered and almost fell directly to the ground. After barely stabilizing his body, he looked at Mekhe with resentful eyes. Although this guy is speaking for him, he can't be happy at all. Bordered Soil has such a reliable companion, it seems that he won't be like me. Shunyan sighed in his heart, then waved and said, Let's go. The school festival will be held in the grove behind the school. Chapter 37. Are there any students who want to join our gourmet club? We have the Akimichi clan's top barbecue students here. Friends who like insects, come here. Our president is the Aburame clan's insect hatching expert. Along the way, there were new and interesting things everywhere. While the freshmen were dazzled, the small grudges caused by the previous episode disappeared in their hearts and began to integrate into the big group. I also want to set up a service club to help everyone. Bordered Soil was inspired by this idea and suddenly asked, What kind of club did Garashi-senpai set up? Shunyan pointed in a direction and helplessly said, See for yourself. Abito looked in the direction that Shunyan was pointing at and was surprised to find a club surrounded by dozens of girls. The club clearly wrote, Psychology Club. At this moment, Bordered Soil admitted that he was jealous. Why are there so many girls there? Do all girls like this kind of boring club? No, they don't like it. Then why are they still crowded there? Shunyan patted him on the shoulder and said in a heavy tone, Because Garashi is handsome. What? Hearing this answer, Bordered Soil almost doubted his life. Is this even possible? After rushing over and jumping up to take a look, Bordered Soil had to admit that the other party does seem to be a little more handsome than him. If the white-haired Kakashi is the cold moonlight, then Garashi-senpai is the warm sunshine. Bah, why would I want to see the two of them? Fortunately, Rin is not so shallow. Bordered Soil thought with relief, and then a form was stuffed into his hand. Bordered Soil looked up and saw Rin standing in front of him with a red face. Bordered Soil, let's join the psychology club and support Garashi-senpai. At this moment, Bordered Soil seemed to hear the sound of something breaking. On the other side, Shunyan was struggling to squeeze into the crowd. Excuse me, please let me through. Can I go in? I want to go in. Get out of my way. I am the supervillain Uchiha Shunyan. Shunyan's voice gradually became irritable, but it was useless in front of the group of fanatical girls. Not only did she fail to squeeze in, but she was also thrown out. Am I really a campus bully? Shunyan was at a loss, and suddenly thought, if I accidentally won last year, would it be gone by now? Thinking of this, Shunyan instinctively trembled, and as if she made some kind of determination, she cleared her throat and shouted, Garashi's house key seems to fall on the ground. Where? Where is it? The crowd dispersed in an instant. Taking advantage of the time when these little girls were searching in all directions, Shunyan quickly seized the opportunity to jump in. Phew, I'm finally here. Opposite him, Shushi smiled. What's wrong? Are you going to come looking for me to regain the Uchiha's lost honor? Shunyan's to me twos is. In the battle 3 months ago, didn't you tell me that we, the Uchiha, are the clan that understands love the most? But this kind of love is easy to be extreme. Just like before, I didn't understand anything, but I was paranoid that everything I did was for the honor of the Uchiha. That's why I said to strengthen the ideological construction. Garashi secretly sighed. In his view, this is not unique to the Uchiha clan. but the common problem of the entire ninja class. In a world where 11 or 12 years old can go to the battlefield, the growth of the mind is naturally abnormal. What's even more terrible is that the so-called thinkers of this world like to think alone, without communicating with others, and then they feel that they have mastered the truth of the world. You know, even in Garashi's previous life, the birth of every idea must undergo countless collisions and carvings of inspiration. No one is omniscient and omnipotent, and no one is always right. The narrowness of vision inevitably leads to the limitation of thinking. After seeing the withering of flowers and plants, they think that they have mastered the mystery of heaven and earth. This is naturally very ridiculous. However, when these people have great power in their hands, the ridiculous becomes terrible. Therefore, the people in power put forward such a set of rhetoric that ninjas are just tools, and tools should not have their own thoughts. But it is precisely because of this that in turn, the exchange of ideas is limited. Seeing that Garashi was lost in thought and seemed to agree with his opinion, Shunyan's tone became more and more excited. But there are too many people in the Uchiha clan who are as extreme as I used to be. I can't change them. I can only slowly influence them through the promotion of my status. So I have to become stronger. Shunyan understood this very well. He can be enlightened by Garashi. Isn't it also based on the foundation that Garashi defeated him? If he won at that time, who would listen to the preaching of a loser? Since you have such a request, then okay. Garashi naturally won't refuse the other party's request to be beaten. After beating someone, he can also receive the other party's gratitude. It is indeed a pleasant thing. However, it is better to set the time after today's school festival. Why? Can't I do it now? But now, you may have to deal with the classmates behind you. Shunyan's body stiffened and slowly turned around. Behind him was a large group of fierce-looking girls, rubbing their fists and rubbing their palms while looking at him. Wait, I am a school bully. Give me face, don't hit my face. Then, for a long time, the screams echoed in the forest. Phew, finally finished distributing the flyers. Asma sat next to Garashi and complained. Such a boring club. Why are there so many people participating? Garashi smiled helplessly. Isn't it too rude to say that the club is boring in front of me, the founder? Haha, what is our relationship? Asma laughed twice and put his arm around Garashi's shoulder. Speaking of which, I thought you would set up a medical club. Actually, from the beginning, I also planned to do so, Garashi said and sighed. But Shuemu's inferiority complex and Shunyan's extremism made me change my mind. If there is a place for them to talk, perhaps many things will be different. Seeing Garashi's mood was somewhat low, Asma suddenly clapped his hands and changed the topic. By the way, Garashi, I heard that a lot of Yunnan caravans came to the village. I haven't seen people from other villages. After the school festival is over, should we go and take a look? Maybe there will be a special product of the Thunder Country. Yunnan? Garashi's eyes slightly fluctuated, and then immediately joked. The special product of the Thunder Country seems to be a bar? If Naruto Sama knew about it, his blood pressure would probably rise again. Humph. Is he allowed to peek at women bathing? I'm not allowed to. Ahem. Chapter 38. In the evening, the novelty brought by the school festival has gradually dissipated, but everyone still lingered in the grove, unwilling to leave. Hee. Although I have forgiven Uchiha Shunyan now, but that doesn't prevent me from watching him get beaten up. Let's bet. Let's guess how long Uchiha Shunyan can last in Garashi's hands this time. I bet 5 shurikens that he can last for 5 minutes. I bet 1 explosive tag that he can last for 3 minutes. On the side, Bordered Soil said angrily. Damn it, how can these bastards do this? Shunyan himself didn't care. I'm not Garashi's opponent anyway. After saying that, Shunyan suddenly reacted. Wait, you didn't also bet, did you? Hearing this, Bordered Soil nodded shyly. Shunyan patted Bordered Soil's shoulder. Good brother, but don't do this next time. At this time, Mekkei came over with an angry face. I bet my youth hot-blooded club's quota, but they didn't accept it. Bordered Soil squinted his eyes. Your quota. No one wants it. By the way, Bordered Soil, I just saw you bet that Sunyan-san can only last for 1 minute. Isn't it too risky? Huh? What's wrong with your eyes? Why are you blinking so fast? Are you also going to awaken your Sharingan? Why should I know this idiot? Bordered Soil's heart was filled with grief and indignation. Inexplicably felt that the pressure on his shoulders seemed to have suddenly become a lot heavier. He stiffly turned his head, and just happened to meet his cousin's kind eyes. It's over. Why do I feel that this guy has a bit of an aura of victory? Garashi didn't know what kind of tragedy happened just now, seeing Shunyan's heavy footsteps. For a moment he muttered in his heart. Garashi, this time I will definitely last for 5. Shunyan's ruthless words were halfway through. But then he thought about it. If he can't take back the words he said, wouldn't it be more embarrassing? Thinking of this, his momentum instantly weakened. 5.5 minutes. Really? I'm looking forward to it. After forming the seal of opposition, Xiao Nian immediately jumped back. At the same time, his hands quickly formed a seal. Fire release, grand fireball. Garashi's expression did not change as he punched out, directly dissipating the blazing fireball. Sparks flew everywhere, and Xiao Nian also seized the opportunity to hide in the forest. Compared to the battles in the school, the forest had all sorts of trees and shrubs as cover. When facing a straightforward physical technique, the geographical advantage naturally had to be taken advantage of. Garashi was not surprised. He just stood quietly in the middle of the forest. Suddenly, a few sparks appeared and shot directly behind Garashi. At the same time, Xiao Nian also took the initiative to jump out and follow behind the sparks. It seemed that she wanted to cooperate with these sparks to launch a round of joint attacks. Garashi noticed the movement and turned around, but this time he did not break it with a punch like before. Instead, he grabbed a few shurikens from the tool bag and shot them at the sparks. The surrounding people had no time to wonder why Garashi would do such a stupid thing as using shurikens to shoot down the flames. They heard a few ding-ding sounds, and the shurikens hidden in the sparks were shot to the ground. The flames that were originally attached to the shurikens also dissipated. How is this possible? How did you see through it? Xiao Nian shouted in disbelief. This was a tactic he had thought for a long time to come up with. The sound of a simple flame and a flame with a shuriken hidden in it are different. Shushi's voice was calm, as if nothing could make him panic. That works. Xiao Nian's head was full of question marks, and then he suddenly realized, wait, I've already lost the initiative. If I continue to rush forward, I'll have to fight Garashi one-on-one in physical technique? Thinking of this, Xiao Nian slammed on the brakes, threw a shuriken at Garashi, and hurriedly fled to the side of the jungle. Few temporarily safe. Hearing the ding-ding sounds behind him, Xiao Nian, who was hiding behind a big tree, rejoiced. Then, accompanied by an explosion, a white arm came from the big tree behind him and stopped right next to his ear. Gulp. Looking sideways, Xiao Nian swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty. Then with a creak sound, the big tree collapsed with a loud bang. For the freshmen who had just entered the school, the fierce battle in front of them naturally caused them to cry out in alarm. Too powerful, Garashi. Senpai is really too powerful. Rather than saying he's powerful, it's better to say he's ferocious. His body is obviously about the same size as us, but it actually contains such a terrible power. Bordered Soil, who had 2 panda eyes, was also shocked. So strong. Cousin Xiao Nian is not his opponent at all. Kakashi's small face was dignified. His eyesight, hearing, and control of power are all unexpectedly strong. Could it be that the person father mentioned, who is more powerful than me, is him? In the field, Xiao Nian was constantly fleeing in the forest, accompanied by a roar, and from time to time, a big tree was broken in half. In just a few dozen seconds, Xiao Nian was already surrounded by danger. Regarding this, Xiao Nian was also very desperate. His biggest confidence this time was the previous sword in the fire. He wanted to use Garashi's inertial thinking to catch him off guard. But who knew Garashi did not play by the rules at all. Calm down, there's still a chance. Xiao Nian took a deep breath. While fleeing, he observed the surrounding terrain, looking for an opportunity. Can these accumulated trees be used? If I can ignite them all at once. Wait, what is that? While Xiao Nian was thinking calmly, the The corner of his eyes suddenly saw the transparent thin line connecting the forest. Or rather, it was a net. This is a net connected by chakra lines? It seems that you have already discovered it. Then this battle will stop here. As soon as the voice fell, Xiaonian was tied in the air. Although the posture of being tied seemed a bit shameful, Xiaonian didn't care so much. Looking at Garashi below, he asked incredulously, "You can still control chakra lines while fighting with me?" Garashi smiled and put down Xiaonian. "Maybe because using taijutsu doesn't take much of my energy." Xiaonian reluctantly accepted this answer. Yes, taijutsu is just waving your fist, as long as you have hands. At the same time, the little gamblers began to cry. Too fast, only 50 seconds and he lost. It shouldn't be. Uchiha Xiaonian lasted 2 minutes last time. Xiaonian's small face was red. He didn't want to, but fighting with Garashi is a bad thing. Any mistake will be infinitely magnified. Haha, Rin was right, cousin Xiaonian really can. Xiaonian was embarrassed. Hearing the cheers, his face instantly became ferocious. On the other side, Asma came up. Garashi, get ready to go. Garashi responded, but after a few steps, he was stopped by a white-haired kid. Chapter 39. Asma looked unhappy. Newcomer, what do you want? However, Kakashi completely ignored his existence and just looked at Garashi. Let me introduce myself. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. Garashi smiled gently. My name is Shimizu Garashi. Nice to meet you. Kakashi nodded. Okay, let's start now. Everyone around looked puzzled. Did they cross over? Why did it feel like there was a conversation missing in the middle? Even Garashi was stunned for a moment and immediately chuckled. It turned out that he didn't know how to communicate at all. Of course, some geniuses have their own pride. Asma on the side also understood and asked with a cold face. You mean you want to teach Garashi? Kakashi looked puzzled. Didn't he say he wanted to teach me? Asma was startled. For a moment he couldn't tell whether this guy was arrogant or really stupid. Garashi smiled helplessly. I'm happy to accept your advice, but I have an appointment with a friend today, so let's wait for the next time. Is that so? I see. Kakashi nodded thoughtfully and said with a little arrogance, I will try to end the battle within a minute. Asma's eyes were full of sympathy. This child is really stupid. As for the reaction of the surrounding people, hey, I didn't expect this white-haired brat to be so self-aware. No, this guy saw Uchiha Shiniki's performance and still thinks he can hold on for a minute. He's obviously arrogant. Oh, so that's the case. Hey, are all newcomers this year so arrogant? Kakashi was depressed. He's not the kind of person who likes to show off. The reason why he challenged Uchiha Shiniki this time, in addition to his fighting spirit being ignited, was more because he was not convinced by his father's evaluation. But in the mouth of these bastards, how could he lose the battle within a minute? What's even more abominable is that he lost the battle within a minute. Is he being arrogant? Perhaps, this is what Jiraiya Sama mentioned in Legend of the Counterattack. The contempt of the people around him will become the source of growth for the protagonist. Kakashi recalled the scene in the book where the person at the end of the line made a comeback, and his originally cold heart became restless. Since you ask so, then I have to agree. Garashi chuckled, not caring about the other party's rudeness. Seeing this situation, the little gambler dogs became excited again. A will open. Bordered Soil came to Rin's side. Rin, what do you think I should bet this time? Before Rin had time to speak, Shiniki Shiniki, Shiniki, Shiniki Shiniki, Shiniki Shiniki, Shiniki Shiniki Shiniki. What do you mean? Bordered Soil asked in confusion. Xiaonian sighed and looked at Garashi with eyes full of sympathy. Let's put it this way. Physical arts is actually Garashi's weakest area. Bordered Soil was startled. He pointed at the horrible scene in the forest and exclaimed, You call this the weakest? In the forest, Garashi gently brushed the fallen leaves off his shoulders. Kakashi, are you ready? Kakashi assumed an offensive posture. Come on. The moment his voice fell, the fallen leaves in the air began to dance, fluttering about, attracting Kakashi's attention. Garashi slowly walked over and brushed past Kakashi. Sorry, I'm in a hurry. As an apology, Let me give you a spring in return. After saying that, Shushi walked outside, while Kakashi stood there motionless, as if he was in a trance. Seeing this, Bordered Soil woke up from his stupor and asked, "What's going on? Is Kakashi asleep?" "It's an illusion." Shionyan's voice was full of admiration and admiration. "This is Garashi's true strength. Too powerful." Bordered Soil was absent-minded for a moment, but immediately became inexplicably excited. "Lin is too good. She must have deliberately pulled me into the psychology club to attract the attention of the senior, and then she can ask him for advice on illusions." Just as Bordered Soil was once again immersed in his beautiful fantasy, there was suddenly a burst of cheers around him. "Wow! Garashi, Kuin is too elegant, too gentle. Too much, can't that newcomer last a little longer?" "That's right. I wanted to enjoy Garashi, Kuin's battle for a while longer. It's so painful. I seem to have a headache when I can't see Garashi. Oh, I seem to be sick too. No, I have to go to the psychology club tomorrow to see the senior. Damn it, I was the one who got sick first." Hearing these voices of admiration, Bordered Soil's small face was bitter. It seems to be a bit difficult to attract the attention of the senior. Woodleaf Bazaar. This is the Thunder-Tooth Iron from the Cloud Plateau of the Land of Lightning. It has been baptized by thunder and lightning all year round. It has a very good thunder property chakra conductivity. Usually, it would cost at least 100,000 taels to buy, but now we have a big discount. The top of the Land of Lightning is awesome, really awesome. This is our Yinan's special wine, 4-bucket goblet. Reikage-sama said it was good after drinking it. Reikage said it was good after drinking it. Asuma stood in front of a stall, his eyes eager to try. He stretched his neck and sniffed inside. Go away, little brats. Don't come here and make trouble." The stall owner obviously didn't think that two children would have any ability to buy, so he waved his hand in disgust. "Humph. Even if you give it to me, I don't want it." Asuma's tsundere mentality flared up. He pretended to turn his head and walked away. Garashi followed behind him. His eyes from time to time swept over the surrounding crowd. "Hey, so boring." Asuma's interest didn't last long, and soon he lost interest. "By the way, Garashi, I see you have been looking around since just now. Do you want to buy something? It's okay, it's my treat." For Asuma's rich behavior, Garashi just gently shook his head. "What I am interested in is not their goods but their eyes." Asuma's body trembled. He lowered his voice and asked, "Garashi, you want to dig out their eyes?" Garashi couldn't help but laugh. "I don't think so." "Then you just said." "What I mean is, the information that their eyes convey." Asuma suddenly turned around and stared at an adult's eyes for a long time until the other party noticed. Then he excitedly turned back and said, "I saw it, there's eye wax. He must have gotten up in the morning and didn't wash his face." Garashi was a little dumbfounded. "Well, this is indeed a message from the eyes. But what I really care about is the true emotions that their eyes can convey." Without waiting for Asuma to speak, Garashi continued. "When I was still in the hospital, I found that many adults like to wear masks on their faces." Asuma wondered, "Masks is there? The disguise to hide one's true thoughts is a mask. I understand. Just like the old man obviously likes to watch women bathe, but he refuses to go directly to the bathhouse. He hides at home to peep. Ahem." Chapter 40. In order to prevent Asuma from saying any more shocking words, Garashi quickly continued the previous topic. "However, only the eyes will not be covered by the mask." Asuma nodded thoughtfully, then stared straight at Garashi. "Garashi, guess what I'm thinking now?" Garashi looked back calmly, which made Asuma feel weak. "You didn't think of anything before, but now, you should be warning yourself not to think of anything." Asuma's eyes widened. "That's amazing. Could this be mind reading?" Garashi shook his head gently. "It's not that magical. I'm just too familiar with your personality. If it's a stranger, even if I use the other person's eyes, expressions and body movements, I can only analyze some details at most." "That's still very amazing." Asuma rubbed his hands and said flatteringly, "Garashi, can you teach me this?" "Of course, after all, I was going to mention it in the Psychology Society." "Huh? I thought your Psychology Society only needed to listen." Since it's a psychology society, I have to understand everyone's true thoughts first. Garashi smiled slightly. He did not mind letting psychology take root in this world. On one hand, the characteristics of psychology itself were destined to be predestined. There were many people who were interested, but there were very few who were willing to go deeper. On the other hand, what he was going to talk about was mainly microexpression analysis. And this was not only useless for people who could control their microexpressions well, but it could also deliberately let others interpret the true thoughts that they wanted to convey. After listening to Garashi's explanation, Asma felt that he was ready to graduate. Psychological analysis was not something that could be done with eyes. Who should I practice with? Asma muttered to himself. Then his eyes lit up, and he swaggered in a certain direction. You little rascal, why are you here again? Seeing Asuma standing in front of the booth with his head held high, the vendor who was selling wine before felt depressed. Asma crossed his arms and decided to use the method that Garashi had taught him. You're selling fake wine. The stall owner was shocked at first, then he said angrily, You little brat, are you looking for a beating? He didn't look elsewhere, which meant that he wasn't guilty. Oh no, I failed the first time. Although Asma was depressed, he did not care about the other party's attitude. He was a second-generation actor. What was wrong with being arrogant and despotic? Seeing that the other party was about to lose his temper, Garashi stepped forward. Even though the wine isn't fake, it should have been mixed many times, right? The boss said confidently, You kids don't understand. Wine is supposed to be blended. But the taste of the wine is so light. Are you sure it's not? Even Reikich said it's bad? The stall owner's expression froze. Asma, who was beside him, moved closer to Garashi and shouted, Look to the side. He's really guilty. Hearing him shouting like this, the stall owner became angry and said, What do you know? Reikich-sama is. No, why should I explain it to a kid like you? Seeing that the other party was about to go berserk, Garashi calmly pointed to the side. Now standing in front of you is the son of Naruto, the traitor, the top genius of the ninja school, and the vice president of the psychology society. The stall owner's raised fist stopped in the air, and his face became very interesting. Sorry to disturb you. Asuma accepted Shushi's greeting with a clear conscience. Shushi, do you have any more? He asked, still unsatisfied. Do you want me to say bounty units? Garashi's eyes were strange, but he still shook his head. I think Soul Hunter is very good. I'm going to start hunting those who fall into darkness. Asma felt good about himself, and looked back and forth in the market, looking for the next target. At this moment, Garashi suddenly stopped in front of a shop. Garashi, what are you doing there? Asma tilted his head, and suddenly his eyes lit up. Garashi, wait, don't say it first, let me analyze it. Garashi was very pleased with Asma's performance. If he waited for Asma to pass this period, it would be really difficult for him. Well, Garashi, when you just stopped, your eyes were looking at the sign in front of this shop, and your eyebrows were frowning very secretly, indicating that you think there is something wrong with the sign in front of this shop. With that, Asma also looked over. It turned out to be this shop. I noticed it when I passed by before. The owner wrote the price on the sign outside in advance, and the price is very high. It should be to prevent people like us who can't afford to go in and disturb them. With that, Asma looked at Garashi. So is there a problem? Garashi pondered for a moment. At first, I thought so too, but when I passed by for the second time, I found something not quite right. What's wrong? This shop sells the specialties of the Country of Thunder. If the Woodleaf merchants bought it from the Country of Thunder, they should wait for these merchants to leave before selling it. So this shop is very likely to be rented, or bought by a merchant from the Country of Thunder. Asma seemed to be enlightened, and had a flash of inspiration. The surrounding Yunnan merchants directly set up stalls. Only this shop is rented or bought. If he doesn't plan to return to Yunnan, then the most important thing to do now is to buy goods and stock them. But not only did he not do that, but he also set the price very high, as if he is driving the customers out. This means that this business is very likely to be his mask. Garashi nodded. Although I can't be sure, it's very likely. Humph, no matter whether he has a problem or not. Let me go in and test it out. Wait, the previous method may not work. If he really has a problem, his psychological quality is definitely not comparable to the previous one. Then what should we do? Haha, of course, let them show their flaws. So this time, we need Asma to act as yourself. After a moment of discussion, accompanied by an extremely arrogant voice, the two actors officially appeared. Boss. Here. The boss ran out happily. When he saw the two little ones standing at the door, he was stunned, but quickly recovered. Little ones, what are you doing here? Well, this boss's strength is indeed very strong. Asma, who had already identified the other party as a bad guy, secretly evaluated the other party's acting skills. Of course we are here to buy things. Don't tell me we are here to watch you take a bath? Ahem. The boss looked puzzled, but still said in a gentle tone, Little one, my things here are very expensive. You should go somewhere else to play. Asma didn't speak, just raised his head and looked at him with his nose. At this time Garashi stood up. Now standing in front of you is the son of Naruto, the raider, the future successor of the Sarutobi clan, and a strong candidate for the second grade class leader of the ninja school. Chapter 41. Naruto's son. The shop owner's pupils contracted violently as he pondered the authenticity of the other party's words. He pretended to be honored and said, So you're the son of Lord Naruto. I apologize for my earlier rudeness. Although this guy was a bit strange just now, it's normal for him to be shocked after hearing such a resounding name like mine. Let's act according to the original plan. Asuma nodded contentedly as a sound came out of his nostrils. Naruto's son is like this? Although he was confused, he did not dare to probe further. He took the initiative to explain himself. I'm a merchant from the Thunder Country Heiai. Because it's my first time in Woodleaf, I'm not sure who you are. I'm sorry. I don't care where you're from. Asma waved his hand impatiently. I'm here for the second grade class monitor election. I plan to buy some fresh beef from you to bribe my classmates. Even a 5 or 6-year-old kid knows how to bribe his classmates. Has Woodleaf become so corrupt? Heiai despised him in his heart, but he still asked cheerfully, How much beef do you plan to buy? No hurry, let me take a look first. Asma acted like he was an expert. Heiai laughed in his heart and followed behind him, as if he was watching a show. However, 10 minutes passed, half an hour passed. An hour passed. Heiai's mentality was breaking down. That arrogant brat was still picking and choosing. Damn it, there's still an operation at night. Heiai screamed in his heart. He took a deep breath and reluctantly squeezed out a happy smile. Maybe Hokage-sama is already preparing dinner. Why don't you come back tomorrow to pick? Asma rolled his eyes at him. Idiot, I've already chosen the class monitor tomorrow. What's the use of this beef? Heiai roared in his heart. How would I know when you primary school students will choose the class monitor? Finally, after dawdling for another half an hour, Asma patted a piece of beef with a look of disgust. I'll take this one. Heiai almost burst into tears. Finally, he could send this annoying little demon away. Seemingly worried that Asma would go back on his word, Heiai hurriedly said, I'll wrap it up for you. Wait, I'm not done yet. Are all you businessmen so impatient? Heiai froze. Ha, I was too impatient. Asma nodded in satisfaction and said in an old-fashioned manner, Give me 5 kilograms of lean meat. There can't be a single bit of fat in it. Do you understand? Heiai heaved a sigh of relief. After a series of sharp knife skills, Heiai happily wrapped up the meat. Then I'm not done yet. I still need 5 kilograms of fatty meat. I can't have any lean meat. Do you understand? Heiai was so angry that he almost pulled out his sword and slashed him. The world is so beautiful, yet I'm so irritable. This isn't good. Taking a deep breath, Heiai forced a smile and said, Okay, I'll cut it now. Hearing these bitter words, even Garashi, who was watching from the side, was almost moved. Another round of torment. Seeing that Moonlight had climbed onto the chopping board, Heiai cried silently in his heart. Finally, seeing Heiai wrap up the fatty meat and send it over, Asma looked at the other party's numb eyes and almost couldn't bear to continue. Then by the way, give me 5 kilograms of bones. I just remembered that Inazuka's dog likes to eat bones the most. Oh, Heiai responded mechanically, like a salted fish that had lost its dream. However, the moment he lowered his head to scrape the bones, the murderous intent in his eyes skyrocketed, and the hand holding the machete also burst out with blue veins. Have I already been exposed? No, if I've really been exposed, it won't be just 2 little brats. I have to endure it. At least, I can't be the one to expose myself. Endure. What followed was another long period of silence. Finally, the bones were picked. 2 little guests, do you have any other requests? Heiai bent down, looking very flattering, but in fact, like a tiger staring at its prey, he was ready to attack. But at this moment, Asuma's soft muttering sounded in front of him. You don't even get angry, what a bummer. Didn't you say that Yunin people have the most fiery temper? Heiai was stunned, he felt something was different. Before he could think of anything, Asma continued. Humph. The second Naruto died in the hands of Yunin. This hatred, I must avenge it. Oh, so it's because of this. Heiai only felt that his palms were wet with sweat. Hearing this, he hurriedly explained. Our Yunin was also a victim of the coup. Even the second Raikage was killed by the 2 brothers. Humph. But both of them are still Yunin people. With that, Asma walked out with an unhappy face. You're lucky this time. I will come again next time. He didn't have enough cash, so he quickly left. Although Asma didn't pay, and didn't take away the beef, Heiai didn't dare to make any more trouble. Phew, it's finally over. Heiai rubbed his wrist. Looking at the table full of beef, his mouth twitched. I hate little devils the most, especially Wood Leaf's little devils. After walking out of the shop for some distance, Asma whispered excitedly. There is definitely something wrong with that guy. Garashi nodded. And it's a big problem. Then we'll leave it to the adults. Asma's excited look froze, and then he immediately smiled. This kind of uncertain thing. It's better not to bother others, right? Garashi showed a hint of surprise. You want to follow them alone? Nope, I still have you. No, it's too dangerous. It won't be dangerous. Asma was serious for once. Our Wood Leaf is protected by a barrier. If there is a powerful ninja from the outside world, the old man will receive the news immediately. So at most, only the escort ninjas of the caravan will participate in the operation. That's also very dangerous, after all. We are not even ninjas. Ninjas and ninjas can't be lumped together. Asma said disdainfully. It's too easy for geniuses like us to deal with ordinary ninjas. And Yunin certainly won't be willing to let geniuses from their village participate in such a dangerous task. What if they have a Chunin? If it's a Chunin, even if we can't beat them, we should be able to protect ourselves. Moreover, this is Wood Leaf. If they find out that they can't catch us in the first place, they will definitely give up. Seeing that Garashi was still hesitating, Asma said again. If they do it tonight, then it's too late for us to inform them now. Hearing this, Garashi nodded with a dignified face. Okay, but if they don't act tonight, then we must inform the village tomorrow. Seeing that Garashi was convinced by himself, Asma excitedly waved his fist. Great, the anti-spy team is ready to act. Garashi sighed softly, as if he was sorry for his nonsense, but his eyes flashed with a strange light. After all, this time we are going to contact sensitive people, so I can only trouble you, Asma, to take the blame for me. P.S. Some readers may think that the name is too strange, but Samui and Yunin is the Japanese pronunciation. Omoi is the Japanese pronunciation. I'll just pick a fast Japanese pronunciation. Chapter 42. Under the hazy night sky, a few sneaky figures gathered together. Hi, what's going on over there? Why are there people at your place so late at night? That's right, we have to change our contact location. Hearing the complaints of his companions, Hayai's nose was sour, and he almost burst into tears. After being tortured by the 2 brats for a long time, he almost changed from a ninja to a chef. After the 2 brats left, He found the secret signal left by his companions at the back door of the shop and rushed to the new contact location without stopping. He didn't even have time to eat. Was it easy for him? Trying to calm down, Hayai explained. Sorry, I didn't expect to be pestered by two troublesome brats. Entangled? The other few people were shocked and hurriedly asked, You've been discovered? How is that possible? Hayai waved his hand. If I was exposed, a lot of wood-leaf umbu should have jumped out and caught us. What are you doing? Don't talk nonsense. One of them released his right hand from Hayai's mouth and glared at him. I used to have a companion, and every time he said something similar, it would come true. Hayai's mouth twitched and he whispered, How is this possible? I can't bear to say it. That's enough. The leader stopped and then asked, What the hell is going on? There are two brats from wood-leaf umbu who want to deliberately provoke me, so that they will attract the patrol ninjas. Seeing the other people's faces changed, Hayai quickly explained. Don't get me wrong, those two brats don't know my identity. They just want to provoke conflict and avenge Nidame Naruto. Hearing this, the others also laughed. I didn't expect that the higher-ups of wood-leaf umbu are all cowards. Among those brats, there are a few hardliners. Hayai also laughed. Haha, one of them claimed to be the son of Sandame Naruto. Huh? Why aren't you laughing? Seeing the smiles on the other people's faces suddenly disappear, Heiei was puzzled at first, but he soon woke up and regretted it. I understand now. I should have caught the kid directly. Anyway, the kid's value is obviously higher than the target. Idiot. The leader lowered his voice and scolded. Haven't you heard that Sandame Naruto likes to peep with binoculars? Heiei's eyes widened. Peeping. The ninja next to him replied. Baiwei-sama said that Sandame Naruto of Woodleaf is a very controlling person, so he specially developed this technique for monitoring. Heiei was shocked. Then what should we do? Fortunately, you idiot didn't make a move. Otherwise, we would all be finished. The leader of the ninjas suppressed his anger and asked, Hurry up and recall for me. Did you reveal any flaws before? I don't think so. The more Heiei thought about it, the less confident he felt. Don't think so? At this time, the ninja next to him asked, Wait, the son of Naruto didn't even make it for dinner. Wouldn't Sandame Naruto send someone to find him? The leader of the ninjas pondered for a moment and suddenly asked, You mentioned that there were two Woodleaf kids. Who is the other one? Heiei thought about it. The kid had no sense of existence except for his good looks. I don't know, except for his good looks. However, the leader of the ninjas was overjoyed. I know, that kid must be Shimizu Garashi that I inquired about in the past few days. I heard that Sandame Naruto is very optimistic about him. Maybe Sandame Naruto found them together with the binoculars, so he was relieved and didn't look at them. Is that so? Heiei was at a loss. Obviously, he was a kid with nothing except for his good looks. Has Woodleaf now fallen to choosing people based on their good looks? Captain, what should we do now? The leader of the ninjas pondered for a moment and exhaled heavily. In any case, our risk of exposure has greatly increased, so we must take action tonight. Because of fear of being discovered, Garashi and Heiei followed from a very far distance. The disadvantage is that there is no way to monitor the other party's conversation. Why haven't they taken action yet? Don't tell me he's asleep? Asuma yawned and whispered, Shushi, why don't we get a little closer? Garashi shook his head slightly. The strength of these ninjas may not be stronger than us, but their experience in carrying out missions is definitely above us. If we get closer, the risk of being discovered is too great. Okay. Asuma sighed helplessly, and then clenched his fist. When we catch these bastards, I must let them know the consequences of making me unable to sleep. They are coming out. What is coming out? They are finally going to take action. Garashi nodded and whispered, Get ready to follow. They are far away from the enemy. Although it is safe, they may lose the target if they are not careful. Therefore, the two did not dare to have the slightest neglect. Seeing the enemy move, they quickly followed. After tracking for a while, Asuma exclaimed softly, Hey, that direction? Garashi pretended not to know and asked, Is there a problem? There are no people in that direction. Only a very fierce big sister lives there. Asma said and asked. Garashi, do you know the country of whirlpools? Garashi jumped and followed while nodding and replied. The country of whirlpools was originally a friendly ally of Woodleaf, but it was destroyed because of a war a few years ago. Well, this big sister is a survivor of the country of whirlpools. Asma said the truth he knew. In order to protect the orphans of the country of whirlpools, the old man let the big sister settle down in the village. But because of outsiders, she doesn't seem to have a good relationship with the other people in the village. But why do these Yunin ninjas want to catch her? Hearing that, Shushi couldn't help but laugh in his heart. According to the memory of his previous life, the fact that Uzumaki Shinakushina became the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki was only known by Sandaime and a few elders. Other than that, even the Sannin didn't know. This also led to a very awkward situation. If they send someone to monitor, the spies of other villages will definitely find something wrong. But if they don't send someone to monitor, it is impossible for them to keep an eye on a little girl all the time. In the end, they can only choose to believe in Woodleaf's security guards. On the other side, Yunin didn't want to catch the Kyuubi at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent these rotten fish. They were really only interested in the other side's special chakra. But who knew that they would catch such a big fish? P.S. According to the setting of the Book of Matrix, this incident happened 27 years before the end of the Fourth World War. According to the timeline problem I mentioned at the beginning, it happened in the year 41 of Woodleaf. So, my outline originally set the incident at the end of the previous year, but I was hot-headed a few days ago, and inexplicably wrote it to the second year. Now, I can only set it to the period between the end of the year 41 and the beginning of the year 42. Here I am brainless, and the outline is set to make mistakes, so everyone can scold me, xxxxxx. There is also a point that people often think that this plot happened when Minato was in school, because the previous part of the plot happened when he was in school. But in fact, when Minato saved the beauty, both of them were wearing Woodleaf forehead protectors and had already graduated. Chapter 43. While talking, the group of Yunin ninjas rushed into Uzumaki Shinakushina's house. Garashi looked dignified. Damn it, we can't catch up. Haha, don't worry. Asma gloated. Those Yunin ninjas are in trouble. I heard from the old man that the big sister's strength is super. Before he finished his words, several ninjas in black walked out with a red-haired girl. Asma. Seeing the strange look in Shushi's eyes, Asuma quickly explained. I understand now. This must be the red-haired big sister's deliberate disguise. She wants to follow this clue and catch all the spies. Garashi slightly shook his head. If he guessed correctly, Uzumaki Shinakushina's strength should be suppressed by Kyuubi. After all, Uzumaki Mito was too old when the seal was transferred, and although Sandaime-sama and the others are strong, their attainments in Fuinjutsu are not as good as Uzumaki clan. The most important thing is that the seal in Uzumaki Shinakushina's body is the complete Kyuubi, which makes the strength of the seal in Uzumaki Shinakushina's body not even comparable to the strength of the future Naruto. In order to prevent Kyuubi from breaking the seal, Uzumaki Shinakushina didn't dare to use chakra, so she didn't dare to resist when she was caught by these ninjas. It can be said that these Yunin ninjas are on the verge of death without knowing it. So in this world, good people are easy to be bullied. Garashi sighed, and Asma on the side also felt that something was wrong. The big sister fell several times along the way, and was violently dragged on the ground by the Yunin. Even if they want to act, they don't have to work so hard, right? Not good, Garashi. That big sister may have been caught. Let's go save her now. Wait, don't be impulsive. Don't forget, they have a hostage now. Thinking of this, Asma suddenly panicked. Then what should we do? Damn it. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have tested them. I would have just captured them. Even if I had captured the wrong person, they would at most have scolded me. Don't blame yourself too much. After all, it involves two countries. Without evidence, the higher-ups won't directly arrest people. But it's too late to go back now, Garashi said calmly. Don't worry, there's still a way. Hearing Garashi's words, Asma calmed down. Tell me, Garashi, what should we do? Garashi narrowed his eyes. Let's continue to follow them. When they reach the border of Woodleaf, they're only one step away from success. That should be when they're the most relaxed. Then, we'll cooperate with them and take back the hostages. Asma couldn't help but retort. But what if they don't relax? Garashi said helplessly. In that case, I can only try to use Jinjutsu to attack their minds. Although I'm very confident in my Jinjutsu, the enemy is a ninja after all. I'm not sure if it will work. Be sure to succeed. With that, Asma said depressingly, I haven't gone back yet. Can't the old man hurry up and peep at me? Damn it. He must want to take advantage of my absence to peep at others. Unlike the worried Asma, Garashi didn't even have the slightest fluctuation in his eyes from beginning to end. Everything was within his expectations. Even the other protagonist in this good show, who hasn't appeared yet, was the same. Things like favorability. It's the same for two people. So don't let me down, Namikaze Minato-senpai. Compared to Namikaze Minato, in fact, Garashi valued Uzumaki Shinakushina more. However, Namikaze Minato also had the potential to develop into an excellent tool. Therefore, Shushi naturally did not want to miss out on such an opportunity to farm two items at once. If Namikaze Minato makes a move, I don't have to spend much effort. I just have to find the right time to gain experience. But what if he doesn't arrive in time as expected? Garashi didn't think that the River of Fate would be like a pool of stagnant water, without the slightest ripple. Too much belief in the future, he knew, would only put himself in a passive and unfavorable situation. Therefore, even if he was involved in this known future, he was still fully prepared. Before deliberately guiding Asma, he had already figured out the other party's intentions and strength in advance. After all, I never said that an ordinary chunin is beyond my scope of dealing with. As a genius, isn't it reasonable to have a breakthrough in the battle? Under the cover of the night, the two followed closely behind Yunin Ninja. Asma picked up a handful of soft red hair from the ground, with a complicated expression. Garashi, are these people really ninjas? The big sister lost her hair all the way, and it was a dazzling red hair that was as eye-catching as fire in the dark. But the group of ninjas didn't even notice it. At first, he was worried that this was Yunin Ninja deliberately luring them to appear. But now it seems that this group of ninjas seems to be really weak. Shushi, on the other hand, remained silent. He finally understood why Cloud Village was so fond of stirring up trouble. But every time they did so, their harvest was so small. They were addicted to food. After discovering this, Asma asked eagerly, Garashi, should we get closer? Garashi was about to answer, but the chakra wave from the distance made him lose his mind for a moment. It was the chakra that he attached to Uzumaki Shinakushina's hair. Although he is not a specialized perceptive ninja, in this case, if someone picks up the hair on the ground, he can still perceive the chakra wave. Namikaze Minato, it seems that I have to hurry up and act. Otherwise, when he arrives, I will have nothing to do here. Thinking of this, Garashi no longer hesitated. Of course, we have to get closer and take the opportunity to launch a surprise attack. Asma's eyes widened. But didn't you say before that we have to wait for them to get close to the border of Woodleaf Village? I overlooked an important detail before. These Cloud Ninjas are likely to have arranged people outside the barrier in advance. If a battle breaks out at the border, it may be noticed by the Cloud Ninjas outside the barrier. Once they desperately rush into the barrier, it will be too late even if the village elders receive the news. Ha ha ha, 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 ha ha ha. So we'd better choose a place where they are relatively close to the border, but the battle won't be noticed by the people outside the barrier. I understand. Asma suddenly nodded and praised. Garashi, you are so thoughtful. Well, wait for me to make the hand seals, and once I'm done, you immediately grab the big sister. Understood. Chapter 44. As time passed, the border gradually appeared, and the Yunin ninjas who had been on tenterhooks finally breathed a sigh of relief. Phew, it was really dangerous tonight. Yeah, But fortunately it was a close call. When we get back to the village, I'll get drunk for a whole day and night. Seeing this, Hayai also tried to justify himself. I told you that it was impossible to be exposed. Look, there's no one chasing after us now, right? The ninja who covered his mouth said angrily. I told you not to say such things. But before he could finish his words, his eyes lost their light. Before Shinakushina, who was still in a daze, could react, she was grabbed by Asma and thrown out. Garashi took advantage of this gap and threw his shuriken, cutting the rope that tied Shinakushina's hands with great precision. Someone really came to save me. Shinakushina fell to the ground, and the sudden pain woke her up. Although she had been trying to save herself before. In fact, she did not think that anyone would come to save her, because of the estrangement in her heart. But she did not expect that her fantasy would become reality. She raised her head and saw 2 little boys. 2 children saved me? At this time, Yunin ninjas also woke up one after another. I was hit by an illusion. After noticing what happened around them, the leader of the ninjas felt a chill in his heart. Fortunately, they saved her first. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know how I died this time. Is it really that effective? Hayai, who woke up, was at a loss. After seeing the 2 people who attacked him, he shouted in disbelief. It's you 2 brats. Hearing his shout, the others quickly calmed down and looked around, and then they were ecstatic. Are there only these 2 brats? Where's Woodleaf Sambu? Shinakushina also reacted and asked in a shaky voice. Only the 2 of you. But soon she mocked herself. Well, only kids like you wouldn't mind a disgusting outsider like me. How can a kind person be hated? Garashi, who was giving Shinakushina temporary treatment, said softly. Kind. Shinakushina was stunned. It was the first time she had heard someone praise her like that. Garashi nodded. When I was treating you, big sister, I discovered that there was a very terrifying power in your body. If it wasn't for suppressing this power, you should have been able to defeat them. In order to prevent the people around him from being threatened, he would rather be hurt. Such a person must be very kind. Shinakushina sniffled and almost burst into tears. Ever since she was young, she had experienced the destruction of her home, the bullying of her classmates, and the discrimination of others. Even when she was brought to Woodleaf, she was only used as a vessel. This was the first time she had received such recognition. Just at this moment, she made up her mind. This brother of mine is mine. Interrupting your thoughts. The pure and clean high fever mushroom is not some old SP. Seeing that Garashi and their mission target were chatting, as if there was no one else around, the group of Yunin ninjas only felt that they were seriously insulted. New hatred plus old hatred. Heiei rubbed his wrist and grinned. You 2 annoying brats, you finally fell into my hands. Shinakushina woke up and stood in front of Garashi. Didn't you want to catch me? I cannot resist, but you have to let them go. Heiei hurriedly said. Captain, that brat is the son of Sandame Naruto. Anyway, we are now at the border. We don't have to worry about Woodleaf's revenge. Hearing what he said, Shinakushina was also surprised. He is the son of the old man Sarutobi? The leader of the ninja was a bit confused. If they caught the son of Sandame Naruto, wouldn't it directly trigger the Third Shinobi World War? He is just a small chunin. How can he make such a decision that may change the world? After taking a few deep breaths, Yunin ninja finally influenced him. Let's do it. Hearing this, the rest of the Yunin ninjas also shouted excitedly. This is the son of Sandame Naruto. His value is much higher than the Uzumaki orphan. Asuma had an innocent look on his face. I didn't even say a word. Why are they looking for me for no reason? However, he wasn't afraid. He was even excited. Humph. It's still too early for you trash ninjas to deal with Master Asuma. Shushi, let's show these bastards our strength. Is he called Garashi? Shinakushina looked at Garashi with concern. Her eyes were full of worry. While they were talking, several cloud ninjas had already rushed up to him. In their opinion, how powerful can these 2 kids be? They just need to be careful of the previous genjutsu. On the other side, Garashi also tacitly cooperated with each other to take action. Garashi's hands quickly formed hand seals. Asuma threw shurikens like stars in the sky. Why are there so many shurikens? Damn, this kid is too rich. The Yunin ninjas were also depressed, although the opponent's throwing technique is very immature. But the strength is not low. With their strength, they can't ignore it. Ding ding, in a series of metal collision sound, the shurikens quickly fell to the ground. But this is enough. Jinjutsu. Fox's mind jutsu. Well, where is he? The leader of the ninjas suddenly realized that a cliff appeared in front of him, and he was so scared that he stopped immediately. But at this moment, the instincts of many years of ninja training made him alert. Jinjutsu dispel. After forcefully disrupting the flow of chakra in his body, the leader of the ninjas finally woke up. Then, he felt a hot wind blowing in his face. The leader of the ninjas took a closer look and saw a huge fireball burning towards him. F*CK. The leader of the ninjas didn't have time to curse and quickly rolled to the side. Puffed. After spitting out a mouthful of grass seeds, the leader of the ninjas looked at the scorched marks on the ground in a daze. Isn't the Grand Fireball Jutsu a Chunin-level ninjutsu? How can a 6 or 7-year-old kid use it so skillfully? Is there any justice in this world? No, there is also the level C Jinjutsu, Fox's Mind Jutsu. The leader of the ninjas looked at his companions who were running around like headless flies, and cursed again in his heart. The other kid is a monster among monsters. He even used a group Jinjutsu. If Wood Leaf is such a monster, how did Yunin survive for so many years before losing the war? Even Shinakushina was secretly shocked. The brother that she unilaterally recognized was a little too strong. At least when she was Garashi's age, she definitely didn't have such strength. P.S. Why don't you kill the enemies first? The first reason is that unless you kill all the enemies in an instant, the hostage will still be in danger. The second reason is that Garashi is here to increase his favorability. And the first thing is to let the other party feel that Garashi values her. Chapter 45. This guy actually woke up at the last moment. Asma smacked his lips with a look of regret. Then let's get rid of the others first. Garashi took out a shuriken from his tool bag. I'll take care of the left side. Then I'll take care of the right side. The leader's eyebrows twitched and he shouted, "Wake up!" If he couldn't disrupt the flow of chakra in his body, his companions could help him. But the problem was he could only save one person at a time. Therefore, he could only hope that his voice could create the effect of restraining. However, it didn't work at all. A vacuum jade flew to the left, and a shuriken shot to the right. The leader gritted his teeth and tried to use his shuriken to knock down the shuriken shot by the opponent, while he ran to the left to knock away his companion before the vacuum jade hit him. Phew, luckily I made it in time. But before he could catch his breath, Garashi and Asma began a new round of attacks. Damn brats, just you wait. No way again. Are you pigs? Wake up now. After going back and forth 3 times, no matter how slow he was, he realized that something was wrong. Every time he attacked, the opponent seemed to leave a gap just right, staggered the time slightly, so that he could still save his companion. No, these 2 brats are doing it on purpose. The leader felt a chill in his heart. These 2 brats deliberately left him a gap, so that he would be exhausted and defeated easily because of exhaustion. Shinakushina was also surprised. It's been so long and no one has woken up. Normal Fox Mind Jutsu absolutely can't have this effect. My brother seems to be really powerful. Seeing the 2 brats start another round of attack, the leader of the ninja roared and rushed up with bloodshot eyes. Damn brats, I want you to die. Being forced to give up his companion by 2 brats made him feel ashamed and angry at the same time. Oh no, it seems that we pushed him too far. Although Asma said that, there was no fear in his voice. Instead, it was full of excitement. A Chunin-level opponent, I wonder how strong he will be? Asma was looking forward to it. But suddenly the opponent's hands burst out a dazzling purple lightning. Lightning release, wolf pack kill. The lightning turned into a pack of hungry wolves, opening their bloody mouth toward Asma. So fast. Asma was surprised. The speed of the opponent's lightning release seemed to be much faster than what he had seen in the village. As expected of a ninja from Yunin, Asma quickly made a hand seal and spat out a ball of fire from his mouth toward the wolf pack. Lightning and fire clashed, and a dazzling light suddenly blossomed in the forest at night. In the aftermath of the explosion, the leader of the ninja violently broke through the lightning and fire barrier and rushed toward Asma. Seeing the enemy rushing toward him, Asma's pupils violently shrank. Obviously, he didn't expect the enemy to be so fierce, but thanks to the many battles he had with Garashi, he was no stranger to this kind of violent attack. With a substitution jutsu he dodged in time. The Yunin ninja, who had entered a berserk state, was naturally not satisfied with this result. He kicked the tree in front of him, and used the recoil force to rush toward Asma again. "I say, haven't you forgotten something? Yamanashi!" Garashi's voice appeared at the right time, and he punched the Yunin ninja, who was in midair. Boom! Like a cannonball, the Yunin ninja was fiercely hit and flew out, plowing a long gully in the ground. "Sure enough, Garashi is more ferocious," Asma muttered, and then asked, "This guy won't be killed directly, right?" On the side, Shinakushina also nodded with relief. As expected of her one-sided brother, under his kind heart, there was also a violent power like her. Phew, what kind of monsters are these?" In the smoke, the Yunin ninja's horrified voice came out. At this moment, he was looking at the fragments in his chest with a frightened face. If it weren't for the heart protection mirror, he would have been directly blown up this time. No, even with the heart protection mirror as a buffer, he was almost shocked to death by the transmitted power. "However, I won't give you another chance. I will let you know that a chunin like you can't even deal with a genin. But you were almost killed by us. That's because I was careless. But you were almost killed by us. Bastard, bastard, bastard." The leader of the ninja roared and rushed straight to Asma. However, Asma just quickly formed hand seals with his hands, and he didn't even have the slightest intention to dodge. Seeing this situation, the leader of the ninja subconsciously thought of a certain possibility, but before he could react, the familiar throbbing appeared again. "Genjutsu again, break it for me." The leader of the ninja knew that he couldn't delay, and he barely controlled his left hand, and the shuriken hidden in the palm of his hand in advance pierced into his flesh. Intense pain came, and he finally broke free from the illusion. Then a turbulent heat wave came. With the experience of the last time, the leader of the ninja hurriedly rolled away, but half of his body was still wrapped in flames. "Damn it, I was forced to this extent." The leader of the ninja held his left hand and looked at Garashi with eyes wide open. He really couldn't imagine that as a chunin, he couldn't even deal with two kids. If it was just one person, it wouldn't be so difficult for him. But the cooperation of the two kids was too good, and he couldn't wake up any of his stupid teammates. Garashi's face was expressionless, but in his heart he sighed. As expected of the fire release, it can't even burn people to death. No, if we don't get rid of that kid who used Genjutsu, this battle can't continue. Thinking of this, the leader of the ninja gritted his teeth and rushed to Asma again. Asma and Garashi didn't suspect anything, and subconsciously began to form hand seals. 3, 2, 1, it's coming. Yunin's eyes flashed, and she actually predicted the time of Garashi's Genjutsu in advance. And the moment before she was confused by the illusion, she didn't hesitate to explode the smoke bomb in her hand. "Damn it, I can't see the enemy's position," Asma thought to himself, but he had already completed the hand seals, and he could only rely on his luck. The huge fireball moved forward and finally rushed into the smoke. Accompanied by the roar of the explosion, dust and smoke covered half of the battlefield. Just when Asma was carefully guarding against the enemy's movement, suddenly, a black figure rushed out of the smoke, and it was so black that it almost blended in with the night. And his target was Uzumaki Shinakushina. "Bastard, stop." Asma saw this, and subconsciously grabbed a shuriken and threw it at the enemy. "Damn it, I don't have time to form hand seals." Garashi pretended to panic and shouted, but in his heart he was speechless. The idiot opposite didn't forget to look at him from the corner of his eyes. Was he afraid that he didn't know his intention? Being deceived by such a clumsy performance, it's really insulting to my intelligence, but it can also be explained by being careless because of concern. Thinking of this, Garashi took the initiative to send himself forward. Chapter 46. Seeing Garashi rushing to stop him, the leader was overjoyed. Hey, so what if you're a genius? You're still an inexperienced rookie. I can easily fool you with a trick. In front of him, Shinakushina was stunned in place, and her face showed a painful expression. Apparently, the big dog in her body wanted to take the opportunity to break the seal. You want my power, don't you? As long as a little. No, as long as you let go of the restraint on yourself, with your strength, it's not difficult to defeat them. No. Why do you resist your own heart? You obviously hate those who bully and humiliate you. I don't like them, but I hate myself even more when I release the devil. Moreover, there are not only those annoying people in the village. The leader didn't know why the little girl in front of him didn't escape, but he didn't want to know. After all, his fish had already taken the bait. Get out of my way. Aha! I've been waiting for you. At the moment when the leader was about to punch Shinakushina, he suddenly turned his direction, and the thunder on his right fist swallowed Garashi, who couldn't avoid it. There was a loud boom. Shushi was flung away, and the blood he spat out formed a chain of sparkling red beads in the air. Garashi! Asma shouted in pain, and rushed to the enemy with bloodshot eyes. Bastard, I must kill you. Ahahaha. Don't talk big. With your unkillable fire style? The leader of the ninja laughed heartily. Shinakushina, who was struggling in pain, was awakened by the harsh laughter, and then found that her face was stained with some warm blood. This is Garashi's blood? To protect me? In the depths of her eyes, a black fog quietly emerged. On the other side, Asma had lost his mind, and even forgot to use ninjutsu, and rushed to the enemy with kunai. Ha! The son of Naruto is only at this level? The leader of the ninjas easily grabbed Asma's wrist and sneered. In consideration of Asma's identity, he did not dare to go overboard. At this time, Asma also calmed down from his impulsive behavior. He widened his eyes, and looked behind the other party in disbelief. Heh! Are you trying to say that there's an enemy behind me? Idiot! This kind of trick I used more than 10 years ago. Just as the leader of the ninja was sneering, a voice that seemed to come from the underworld faintly sounded behind him. I'm going to kill you, bastard. The leader looked back stiffly, and saw a monster surrounded by blood mist staring at him. The strange and ominous chakra seemed to be able to awaken the deepest fear in a human's heart. Ah! The Flying Ape Clan's encampment. Sandaime Naruto, who was critically looking at the content of the crystal ball, suddenly stood up, walked to the window, and looked at the scarlet blood mist in the distance. His eyes were full of worry and heaviness. What the hell is going on? Why did the Kyuubi's chakra erupt in that direction? Thinking of this, he quickly walked back to the table. With a wave of his right hand, the image on the crystal ball began to change. The next moment, Shinakushina appeared in front of him, and at the same time, Yunin Ninja, who was paralyzed on the ground in fear, appeared. Damn it! These Yunin are actually, Sandaime said angrily, and then suddenly his eyes widened, because he saw Asma's figure in the corner of the crystal ball. Wait, what the hell is going on? Root, in the underground dark room. The ninja wearing the rock Crypsis forehead protector looked at the old man in front of him in horror. What are you doing? No, don't come over. Don't struggle, let this old man give you an injection. What is this? Poison? Oh, isn't this the reason why Inoki asked you to sneak into Woodleaf? Listening to what he said, even if he was imprisoned, the rock Crypsis spy couldn't help but show a look of desire. This is the first Naruto's. Danzo took advantage of this opportunity to insert the needle. Ah! The rock Crypsis spy screamed in pain, and in an instant, his body was swallowed by the trees. Another material is missing. Danzo frowned, but the next moment, he hurriedly jumped to the ground. This evil and ominous chakra fluctuation. It's the Kyuubi. Seeing this scene, Danzo's eyes almost rippled with anger. Letting the Kyuubi break the seal is a major dereliction of duty, Hiruzen. You are too incompetent as the Hokage. At the same time, at the border of Woodleaf, Garashi climbed up from the pit in the distance. Looking at the scene in front of him, the corner of his eyes twitched. Did he accidentally go too far? I thought that as a descendant of the Uzumaki clan, she should be able to easily perceive my situation. Garashi sighed. But fortunately, if she came out with her tail, it would be really difficult to end the situation. But this situation is not too bad. Thinking of this, Garashi struggled to climb out of the pit. Oni-san, please stop, I'm fine. Shinakushina, who was in a berserk state, calmed down after hearing Garashi's voice, and the blood mist on her body began to dissipate. In the distance, Asma, who seemed to be scared silly, heard Garashi's voice and finally recovered. Garashi, it's great that you're okay. As for Yunan's ninja, he couldn't hear Garashi's voice, he was scared to death by the Kyuubi's chakra. This level is far from enough. Garashi frowned slightly. He naturally didn't care about Yunan's group, but he found that the blood mist on Shinakushina's body dissipated to a certain extent, and then stabilized. At this time, Asma also trotted all the way and whispered in Garashi's ear. Garashi, what happened to Oni-san? Maybe it's the tailed beast mentioned in the book. Oni-san, is she a Jinchuriki? So pitiful. Garashi shook his head slightly and shouted shamefully. Kind Oni-san, you must hold on. You are so kind and brave. You must not lose to the devil in your heart. Like a real mouth cannon, every time Garashi shouted, the blood mist on Shinakushina's body dissipated. Sure enough, it's too shameful. Garashi took a deep breath and looked to the side. Asma, come with me and cheer for Oni-san. Asma, who was watching the show from the side, was stunned and pointed at himself blankly. It's very happy to see others shouting, but it's too shameful when it's him. But seeing Garashi's determined eyes, Asma had to agree. Then his face turned green and he said, Oni-san, your form is really ugly. Quickly change back. As soon as his voice fell, the blood mist on Shinakushina's body rose. Seeing this, Garashi helplessly patted Asma's shoulder. Forget it, you'd better not say it. If you continue, you'll get beaten up. Chapter 47. Just as Garashi's mouth was dry from shouting, someone jumped down from the tree in a handsome posture. Seeing Shinakushina's strange expression and Garashi's shameful words, Minato hurriedly asked, Shinakushina, what happened to you? Also, what happened to you? Nyasan was attacked by the monster sealed in her body, Garashi replied, and then asked, Nyasan, are you Nyasan's friend? Friend. It should be possible, probably maybe? Minato seemed a little shy. Although he had been secretly paying attention to Shinakushina, she was very resistant to everything in the outside world, so the two of them didn't actually talk much. That's great. Garashi cheered. Nyasan is now relying on her own perseverance to fight the monster. Nyasan, hurry up and say something to make Nyasan happy and confident. It's best if you can remind Nyasan of your bond. Is that so? Hearing Shinakushina's situation was so critical, Minato didn't care about anything else, and said the words buried in his heart for a long time. Because of your beautiful red hair. I noticed you when you first came to school. At that time, you were laughed at because of your red hair. And I was so angry that I wanted to stand up and help you. However, you didn't cry when you were bullied, but bravely fought back. From that time on, I knew that you were very strong, both in strength and spirit. I like Shinakushina from the bottom of my heart. Also, today is actually the day you came to school. I didn't have the courage to ask about your birthday, so I kept this day in my heart. I was going to invite you out on a date, but I accidentally found out that you were taken away, and I don't want to lose you. Garashi's mouth twitched slightly. What is this? Is this some kind of romantic talk? Sure enough, Namikaze Minato has his own unique insights when it comes to language. However, when Minato said these words, the ominous red mist that wrapped Shinakushina's body quickly dissipated. In just a few breaths, Shinakushina returned to her original form, and then her body softened, and she fell into Minato's arms. Asuma was dumbfounded. This is the world of the strong. The next day, Naruto's building. Hiruzen, you should already know what happened yesterday, right? Of course, they're all good kids. Don't play dumb. Danzo sneered, breaking the Kyuubi's seal. Do you think you can just forget it? Take a look at this. Sandaime didn't get angry. He took out his smoking gun and pushed a document over. Danzo coldly snorted and took the document. His eyes almost popped. It was written in the document that the crisis was caused by his indulgence of the Cloud Hidden Army spies. Seeing this, he finally remembered that because of the material, he planned to catch a few more spies, so he didn't pay much attention to them. Moreover, he didn't think that a group of genin could carry out a secret mission. Who would have thought that the Yunin spies would hit the jackpot? Ahem. Danzo calmly pushed the document back. Let's put this aside and talk about the next issue. Mitokado Hamura and Kohar Udatane shook their heads secretly. Danzo really can't beat Hiruzen. Sandame smiled lightly. Then let's talk about the rewards for Minato and Shimizu Garashi. Wait a minute. Danzo, who had just calmed down, immediately interrupted. I think it's necessary to bring Minato and Shimizu Garashi back to root for my personal training. Danzo, do you know what you're talking about? Sandame's gentle face suddenly turned cold. You're too weak, Hiruzen. Danzo said tit for tat. One can make a Jinchuriki go berserk, and the other can make a Jinchuriki calm down. This kind of bond can be the best tool for us to control the Kyuubi. Mito-sama said that if you don't want to be eroded by the Kyuubi's hatred, you must first fill your heart with love. Sandame's eyelids drooped. Shinakushina has now filled the emptiness in her heart. I won't let you push her into the abyss. Stupid. A ninja is a tool, and as for a Jinchuriki, they're nothing more than vessels. Danzo said firmly. In short, Minato and Shimizu Garashi, I must. Boom. The door was violently pushed open, and debris splashed everywhere. The umbu hidden in the surroundings instantly jumped out, but after seeing who it was, they consciously retreated. They confirmed that it was someone they couldn't afford to offend. Seeing the two coming towards him, Danzo's eyes were gloomy. Jiraiya, Tsunade, what do you two want? But before he could finish, Tsunade raised her fist and slammed it. Boom! The place where Danzo was standing was directly hit, and even the entire Naruto building trembled. The next moment, Danzo came back from the dark corner, and his face was not only gloomy, but also furious. You two bastards, do you want to betray the village? Tsunade's face was cold, and she said domineeringly, I came here today to say one thing. If you dare to touch my disciple, don't blame me for killing you. Jiraiya laughed. My disciple is the same. Danzo's face was gloomy. For Wood Leaf, a little sacrifice is worth it. Boom. Another stand-in was directly hit by Tsunade. I'm not here to listen to your nonsense. Tsunade put her hand on the table. In short, I don't care if it was your root who did it, but as long as my disciples are in danger in the village, I will blame it all on Root. Every time they are attacked, I will kill one person. This time, even the two consultants who were watching the show stood up. Tsunade, do you know what you are talking about? No matter what, Root's ninjas are your companions in Wood Leaf. Jiraiya was secretly speechless. Tsunade is as irritable as ever. Companions? Tsunade sneered. Do you think those people really understand the meaning of companions? Enough. Danzo came out from the corner again. Do you really think I don't dare to label you as a traitor? As you wish. Tsunade waved her hand casually. If I didn't want to wait for Shizen to graduate, I would have taken her away from Wood Leaf. Tsunade, don't be impulsive. Danzo, you also calm down. The two Hokage consultants quickly stood up to smooth things over. Not to mention Tsunade's symbolic identity. Her strategic level of medical skills made them not dare to act recklessly. However, Tsunade didn't buy it. I'm not here to discuss with you today. I'm just here to tell you the truth. As for whether you want to believe it or not, it's not something I need to consider. After saying that, she walked out swiftly and decisively. Jiraiya on the side was stunned for a moment. He came here today. Didn't he just say one sentence? Shaking his head, he left behind a sentence and followed after her. I advise you, don't provoke a crazy woman. An angry sage is the same. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.